program is intended for mature audiences.
Rudy's Revelation.
Everyone, welcome back to the podcast. It is October 27th, 2021, 2025. Where the hell am I? It is Monday. Welcome back. So today we're going to be talking about battling the communist contagion and the fact that in less than a week, if the U.S. government shutdown isn't resolved, EBT, or the digital food stamps, SNAP, will run out. So I'm going to be talking about that, and that apparently, I don't know if conservatives are making too much ado about this, but it seems like there are people saying that there's going to be rioting and a crime wave if their money isn't available to them at the start of the month. So we're going to be talking about that. Welcome to the live stream today. Rudy's Revelation, finding revelation in the news and meaning in media. So we're going to get into the headlines. We're going to start out, I think, with this SNAP benefit running out, and that people may be, there are threats out there, you might have seen the videos, of people saying if we don't get our food stamp credits, that they're going to steal, riot, and commit other crimes. Now, a lot of them are blaming Republicans. It's not really Trump's fault as much as it is the Democrats, but apparently the Democrats want this. They want outrage and social upheaval. I don't really understand it. I don't know why they want to do this, but I think a lot of people, including Victor Davis Hanson, are painting the picture as the Democrats don't have any political capital. So as we've seen, they will use any political capital that they might have. And so social unrest, I guess, is their next card. And then they're going to have people like Gavin Newsom or Kamala Harris, or both of them, come out to be the saviors, or try to. So we've already seen Newsom positioning himself in California, saying the state will provide what's needed for the people that might not have food stamps. So let's go to the first article here. A man-made disaster. Food banks and experts issue grave warning as SNAP benefits set to run out amid government shutdown. Well, let's make something perfectly clear here. I am for, I'm going to be clear. I'm for social safety net. However, I think it should be poor. And although it's called an entitlement, I don't think it's an entitlement. An entitlement is like Social Security, because that's your money. So you're entitled to get it back. I don't know if anybody's just entitled to get money and food and shelter from the government, but that's the way people perceive it. SNAP is considered supplemental. I hope a lot of people know what that word is. Supplemental nutrition assistance program. Benefits are set to start halting on November 1st. The majority, I think, going out November 3rd, which will be the 1 month anniversary of the government shutdown. Now, it's going to look bad for anybody, any politician, right? So that's one of the problems. So I know people have dug in their heels. I'm not even suggesting that the government should, or the Republicans should negotiate, because they're certainly on the winning side. They just have to go out there and make sure in other avenues other media avenues where Democrats or people that don't even watch the news might see it. You know, take out billboards in the inner cities and stuff like that. I think that, just to be sure everybody knows that it's the Democrats that are doing this. But it's going to be a problem. And I think it's one that has been planned out by the Democrats. My point is that it's supplemental, right? These are mostly, if you look at the videos, these are young people, able-bodied, who can't make a life for themselves. So they depend on this. Some guy said him and his family have been on assistance forever, even his grandparents and his parents and his adult siblings, all on benefits. And who knows if they have, are in public housing or whatever. Shit like this is supposed to be transitional, not generational. Now, should there be government programs to help people get off the dole? Of course. But this generational shit where you and your family, as long as you can remember, have always been on assistance, and then you're gonna commit crime because you think you're deserved. What makes you deserve it? You're a human being? Yeah, sure. But why does a government have to do it? Why does the taxpayer have to do it? It will, but that the question, the theoretical question is why. I think it should, but why? Why do people, young people, not old, frail people, not disabled people, you're provided a free education, you're provided a free education, but that free stuff you don't want. But give me my food. That's fucked up. Because you got to understand, it's the state, which is supported by the taxpayer, is giving you this stuff. Be a little more fucking gracious. All right, let's get into some other news. Post-millennial Seattle LGBTQ activist who celebrated Charlie Kirk's assassination files for a protective order against journalist who exposed him. Chloe rejected. So let's just get into the story. Where is the story? Fuck, next. So this journalist, Cho, rejected the allegations as absurd and politically motivated. I have never met a Shufo in my entire life. Couldn't point him out in a lineup. So you're going to have to bear with me one second. Where is the text for this story? I swear to gosh. Okay, Seattle activist who celebrated the assassination of Turning Point USA founder Charlie Kirk has filed a petition for anti-harassment protection order against a journalist, Jonathan Cho, despite Cho never have even met the activist. According to documents obtained by the post-millennial, Andrew Ashifu, who's a member of the City of Seattle LGBTQ Commission and key endorser of socialist mayoral candidate Katie Wilson. I don't know if you know who this person is, but accused Cho of stalking and harassment after the reporter highlighted his social media posts mocking Kirk's death. So the point is, the journalist here just reported on this person and said this person is who they are, and they're on the commission, and they're also a prominent supporter of the socialist candidate. And he just pointed that out. And what he made identifiable was she posted stuff on social media celebrating Kirk's death. I think all these, and the thing is, it's not the government prosecuting you for such things. It's not your employee even firing you for such things. It's a journalist reporting on a public figure what they posted on social media. That's been common practice now for decades. I don't know why that's even an issue, but it is an issue if the reporting, well, is shocking to maybe your constituents or your fellow politicos. All right, so next article up is from the New York Post. This is more prize winners here. A 29-year-old anarchist arrested for alleged $45,000 hit on Pam Bondi. Now, before I go on with this, I know what folks are going to say. Oh, the guy's just posting, shocking stuff on social media. You cannot even joke about assassinating public figures in public. That's always been a crime. You can't. But the thing before the internet, if you said it, how many people would hear it? Would they take it seriously? It's a little bit of a chain. You can see the problem with the internet is it's like my voice right now. It's recording this for posterity. An anarchist with a lengthy rap sheet has been arrested for allegedly putting a $45,000 hit out on, and they say allegedly. I don't even think it's allegedly. Allegedly putting a $45,000 hit out on U.S. Attorney Pam Bondi on TikTok, according to the feds. Tyler Maxon Avalos, 29, was nabbed on October 16th after a tipster alerted the FBI to alleged murder for hire plot. The suspect had blasted out on social media earlier in the month. Okay, so first of all, I have to say this, that you can't first of all, you have to take the political musings, let's say, right? The political musings of a certain person online. Now, the political musings are related to an anarchist, so anarchists tend to be the most dangerous because of their extreme view. Anarchy is an extreme view, as is totalitarianism. They're the exact opposites. So he's a anarchist, and then who don't want government, threatening to kill or pay someone to kill a public figure, not just the public figure, the top law enforcement agent in the country. That's a big deal. That's treason, insurrection, as well as murder or threatening a murder or conspiracy to commit murder. What the I don't care if you don't like Pam Bondi, or if you happen to say privately to a friend that you you might want to do this. However, it's not allegedly. Is that his meme? Things are getting crazy. And like I said, we're only a week away for something that might be a terrible catalyst for the nation. The Chilling Post was included a photo of Bondi with a sniper scope red dot. I hate when these people say shit like this. Well, who said that? The court documents charge, this is quoted, sniper scope red dot. Can we just say a sniper scope reticle? Because it was a reticle. They always say red dot. Because I guess it's illuminated, right? But it's a reticle. Illuminated sniper reticle or scope reticle. On her forehead with the caption, "Wanted Pam Bondi, reward for $45,000, dead or alive, preferably dead." That's a direct threat, for sure. Underneath the photo, Avalos alleged, cough, cough, when they don't serve us, then what? The feds allege Avalos, who has a prior history of convictions, has anarchist ties and noted that his TikTok username was Wacko, an apparently anarchy symbol. And this is the reasoning for extremists. Is if you're an extremist, it's always the given rationale or, well, they're not doing their jobs or they're corrupt or whatever. They deserve to, we need change now, regardless of how slow the political process is. We need change now. So something has to be done. That's what they always say. We got to do something. That's the extremist viewpoint. And that is usually not given by academic professors so much as their minions. You know, the people that are teachers' assistants or resident administrators, etc. They say, what are we supposed to do? Something's got to be done. And then actually their minions, the even younger anarchists, will take up arms. Some good news. TJ Media reports Portland police finally dismantle Antifa encampment. That's actually the new encampment. Local police have reportedly done what they should have done weeks ago, according to PJ Media, dismantle Antifa encampments. You all might know independent reporter Nick Sorter sharing a video of Portland police officer stating that the Antifa-led activities and camp blocking traffic violated city laws and policies. This is the second Antifa encampment in Portland. It replaced the first one that had been dismantled. What you see here specifically is it's the second encampment. We all know it violates laws and policies. The people that lay down in the street and block traffic, before the whole BLM thing, where it was tolerated, if anybody ever laid down in the middle of the highway, they'd be arrested immediately. And condoning free speech means you're not violating the law. So obviously, if you're laying down in the middle of a highway with the specific purpose to disrupt traffic, you should be arrested. I don't understand. Post Millennial is reporting 2 Antifa siblings from New Jersey arrested charged in Portland during ICE facility riot. The officers arrested the pair. So Yeah. I don't know what's happening there. Another mistake on my part. Yeah. Got a lot of news to go through. But I don't know what happened to that text. All right. Because this text here I thought was with the story. This is again having to do with that other thing going on in Washington. Next headline up here, though, is just the news: illegal immigrant dies in crash on Virginia highway while fleeing ICE. Jose Castro Rivera, 23-year-old man from Honduras, was hit by a pickup truck on Interstate 264 eastbound on the Military Highway interchange in Norfolk, Virginia on Thursday. So what happened here was this guy was pulled over, and while the people were being taken out of the car and being detained when they were found out they were illegal immigrants, he ran across the highway and got hit by a car. So I don't really know why you would do that. Why you would risk killing yourself instead of being detained by immigration and possibly deported. 24-year-old, he thought he could get away with it. You don't run across a highway. The cars are traveling so fast on an interstate that maybe because he was on Honduras, how long he had been in the country, maybe he has never seen a car going 80 miles an hour before. And if you're standing still or running, which is basically standing still. So he's fleeing the police. He's not watching. Maybe he thinks he's looking, and he ends up getting killed. Really stupid. Speaking of illegal immigrants, a DHS to soon deport Abrego Garcia to African nation after illegal aliens return from El Salvador, filing says. So this is from Fox News. Hilmar Abrego Garcia could be deported to Liberia as soon as October 31st. Well, good. I'm glad Liberia, the nation Liberia in Western Africa, was founded by the United States for blacks that wanted to repatriate. The president at the time, Monroe, named the capital Monrovia. That's why it's called Monrovia. And provided, in some cases, free transportation back to Africa for any African Americans who wanted to go back there. You take that for what it is, good, bad, indifferent, but something was done. And so should he go back to Liberia? I think he should. I think certainly Liberia should take him, being a offspring, I guess you could say, of the United States. Liberia, as in for liberty. So it was where freed blacks could go if they wanted to go back to Africa. Wall Street Journal has the headline: Maine Senate candidate says he covered up controversial tattoo. Graham Plattner, who hopes to unseat Republican Senator Susan Collins. I mean, he hasn't even won the primary yet. That's what I heard from my brother. My brother's like, yeah, that's the guy who's running against Susan Collins. He hasn't won the primary yet. I don't understand what people are talking about. I guess he's well liked. He says he didn't know the design, his tattoo, looked like a Nazi symbol. Technically, it's not a Nazi symbol. It is the Totenkopf or Death's Head, skull and crossbones. That specific design, which is unique to Germany, was not only unique to the SS, which was the occultic secret police, secret troops, shock troops, Praetorian Guard, whatever you want to call them, which wasn't necessarily Nazi. So even people that served in the SS were not always Nazis, although their loyalty had to submit to a stronger test than regular Wehrmacht German soldiers, etc. So in any case, he had this tattoo of the Totenkopf, which is a tight skull and crossbones with the skulls with the crossbones actually under the bottom of the skull, unlike the Jolly Roger where they're below. And so it's unique to Germany, and it certainly was unique to the SS, that specific design. If he knew that when he got it, I think he did because he got it in Europe, but he might not have, so whatever. And the skull and crossbones, you know, is not specific to Nazis or even to the SS. So that was my point. That being said, this guy's another idiot Democrat. He portrays himself as a fisherman, shell fisherman, and, you know, great. And he has that rugged mystique. He used to be a Marine. Whatever. He's a fucking Democrat. Democrats suck. And I voted Democrat before. This is not your grandma's Democratic Party. The working class Democrat still has big sway in places like Maine. I'm sorry, I'm rambling. We got a lot of news to get through, so let's do that. PJ Media, Maine Democrats still really love their Nazi tattoo guy. So Graham Plattner, the Senate candidate, recently revealed to have a Nazi tattoo and have bragged online about it being an Antifa super soldier. Okay, that's where the problem lies. I don't care about the fucking Totenkopf. I think that's a red herring. This guy bragged online about being an Antifa super soldier. That's the problem. Because Antifa, yeah, means anti-fascist. It really means anarchist. Because most of these people are anarcho-communists, anarcho-socialist, whatever. That's the problem. It's too extreme. So he either doesn't know, maybe he's a fucking idiot, or he does know. That's very dangerous. If this guy gets elected, it's very dangerous. So he still has a primary to go through. I think it's against the mayor or governor. I don't quite remember. Mayor of Portland. All right, One America News. Federal judge overturns Biden area transgender healthcare protections. I don't care about that. Like any of this kind of elective shit. Federal judge overturned Biden area rule that protected transgender healthcare anti-discrimination measures. But this is what it is. It's for transgender identified people to receive so-called gender-affirming care, which is not gender-affirming care. It's gender-destroying care, gender-reversing care would be more accurate. It's not gender-affirming care. And I'm not for tax dollars paying for anything elective. Surgery or otherwise, or drugs or whatever. So good, because if you're electing to do something, the government shouldn't have to pay if I wanted to, sever off all my arms and legs. Just the news, Arctic frost probe targeting Trump conservatives born at highest levels of Biden White House as the DOJ. The deal here, members of the Biden White House and leaders at the Biden area Justice Department and the FBI were all involved in efforts linked to the launch of the Arctic Frost investigation. That was kind of a I don't know what happened there. That was kind of a tech issue. In any case, Arctic frost, right? So the FBI investigation into Republicans after January 6th. Now people are like, well, they launched an investigation because of the riot. We're not having that riot. We know now that riot was instigated by intelligence officers of the federal government. However, it was a rally that went to march to the Capitol. It was supposed to march to the Capitol. There was actually going to be another rally at the Capitol. And some people, thousands, were lured into the Capitol. But there was never any evidence that any politician ever met with any representatives of these people, ever suggested anything to anybody. They gave tours of the White House. They always give tours of the White House. And there was no evidence to suggest that there was anything nefarious. Because some people that went into the Capitol did take a tour earlier. It goes too far. It's not like criminals in the street being funded by NGOs that are being funded by Democrats, liberals, and progressives. And those same people support the politicians who are the mouthpieces to instigate subtly the attitudes and actions of all these people with a problem. You know, you got the suburban housewives have a problem with Trump. You have the minority community, upset with their condition a lot of times. I'm not saying that none of that's justified. You have the white, affluent, or once affluent children of establishment liberals who are out in the street with anarchy and going to colleges and being inducted and trained in this type of distrust behavior. So I even read some of the books like Howard Zinn, right? Oh yeah, America did some bad stuff. Certainly did, and still does. Spying on, and don't forget the CIA was spying on Congress. And that investigation obviously went nowhere. In any case, new evidence shows that the Attorney General Merrick Garland, we know this, Deputy Attorney General Lisa Monaco, and then FBI Director Christopher Wray signed off on Arctic frost. Merrick Garland is the closest, was one of the closest to the administration. So the fact, if you think that Joe Biden didn't know, or they didn't know exactly what they were doing, they had this all lined up because they knew January 6th was going to happen. They planted the pipe bombs. They put agents in the crowd. Why is it any different than any other time? They, just like the Whitmer thing, they try to coax people into going along with a crazy plan. And even at January 6th or January 5th, you had people photographing Ray Epps going, Fed. Before the fact. One American News, DOJ sends federal election watchers to California for redistricting special election. This is actually important. The United States Justice Department said that it plans to send federal poll watchers to California for its highly scrutinized election next month. This is the redistricting thing that it even says was in response to Texas redrawing their district maps this year, which will probably get Jasmine Crockett booted. So, but the federal government is sending poll watchers just to make sure Gavin Newsom and the Democrats in California, a supermajority, don't cheat. Because that's how they do things. If you didn't know, that's how they do things. So the Democrats getting control, then they put fraud loopholes everywhere, rig elections, then they get a supermajority, and then Republicans are never elected there in that state again. Transparency at the polls translates into faith in the electoral process, Pam Bondi said, and this Department of Justice is committed to upholding the highest standards of election integrity. Which it should. New York Post, frustrated accused Palisades firebug Jonathan Rinderknecht has outbursts in court over his detainment. He doesn't know. He goes, why am I being detained? You were there, dude. In real time, I was following the arson. As soon as the fire started, those of us who were following these wildfires, you look at the satellite imagery, you see where the fire starts, you blow up Google Maps, you look there, there's nothing there except hiking trails. So the fire started right by a hiking trail and then supposedly was put out and then restarted again, just like Maui. What a coincidence. So this guy, Jonathan Rinderknecht, had another appearance in court, right? And he burst out, started yelling at the judge, goes, why am I being detained? I don't understand. I was doing what I was told to do. AP, four family members of Illinois governor candidate killed in Montana helicopter crash campaign says, well, you know what this is. I never thought, I know Pritzker has a big, powerful family, but would they really kill the relatives of a candidate as a warning? It's just a plane crash. It happens all the time. The son, daughter-in-law, and two grandchildren of former state lawmaker Darren Bailey, who lost the 2022 gubernatorial election in Illinois and is against Pritzker and is seeking his party's nomination again in next year's race, were killed in a crash Wednesday. Bailey previously served in both the Illinois House and Senate. So this other prominent Illinois politician, Darren Bailey, well, he's running against Pritzker again. I think he didn't listen to his warning. You better stay out of this fucking race. Because actually this guy has a pretty big following. And in 2022, he did very well. But like I said, Illinois, states, the way the Democrats get control, and then they make sure they never lose again. And these are probably some of the tactics they employ. Maybe it's not Pritzker. Maybe it's the Democrat Party in Illinois, history of Chicago. Say no more. All right, next headline, One American News. U.S. Mexico investigation into baby trafficking ring led by Diabla. La Diabla. So I guess that's a cartel. Remains active while authorities search for past buyers. So Tulsi Gabbard's DNI uncovered, first of all, they started a new Southern Fusion Center for intelligence coming out of the Southern Hemisphere. So one of the first things that happens, they uncover a baby trafficking ring. Also dealing in, like the worst of the worst. So baby trafficking, organ harvesting, fetal or baby organ harvesting. You might have seen the video is out there, Tulsi Gabbard. But she was on the Fox Morning Show saying this. U.S. officials provided a detailed update during a briefing at the White House with President Donald Trump on Thursday, crediting the National Intelligence Fusion Cell for the intelligence that led to La Diabla's arrest last summer. So I guess La Diabla is a cartel leader, maybe. I think it's got to be a woman, right? Because that's feminine. Last month, a joint effort between the U.S. and Mexico resulted in the dismantling of a baby trafficking and organ harvesting ring linked to the Jalisco New Generation cartel. Okay, so La Diabla is probably an officer in the Jalisco New Generation cartel, CJNG. Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, provided the update. She characterized the now defunct operation as insidious, highlighting it as a prime example of how targeted counterterrorism measures yield tangible results. So, to what extent we really know how many children were trafficked, how many organs were harvested, that sort of thing, we don't know. It didn't really go into the story. She said there were over 20,000 cartel affiliates in the U.S. databases, and this is dealing with the southern, as I said before, Western Hemisphere. Speaking of such, Wall Street Journal, Milei wins mandate for free market revolution in Argentina's election. Result shores up momentum for self-described anarcho-capitalist economic agenda. What? Having a few technical difficulties today. Nothing new for this channel. All right, well, the problem with Javier Milei is he's fighting communists. For the most part, Argentina was taken over by the communists. So this is why there's a fundamental ideological battle going on between libertarian capitalists, which isn't anarcho-capitalist, that's a different thing. Libertarian is less laws, anarcho is no law. So it's kind of a mischaracterization there. Considering capitalism, right? It's a battle, it's a fundamental battle between liberty-minded, so free, but not just freedom of your movements and possessions and sovereignty or whatever, but also free in business with low social overhead expenses, right? So it's a war against socialism and communism by, in the battle of ideas, in this case economically, for the world, right? So who doesn't want freedom? But the left's argument is always, oh, you let the merchant class do business too freely, and what do you have? You have economic disparity. But if the economic disparity is creating a social safety net, well, you see, there isn't anything wrong with that. So that's why they want equity, right? So it's, and the ultra rich it won't affect, but bringing down the fairly rich to where the poor is, so the poor could be lower middle class, enjoy a lower middle class lifestyle. I'm sorry, I'm going on. Off on a tangent today. AP, Trump ends trade talks with Canada over tariffs, add that Ontario Premier now says he'll phase out. This is old news, right? So actually, the government of Canada produced an ad against tariffs. But what it did is deceptively edited a speech by Ronald Reagan to make it sound like he was more against tariffs, and specifically Donald Trump's tariffs, than he actually said. And so since it was doctored, Trump had all the leverage and said, Canada's put out this doctored thing. Reagan never felt like what they're describing him to feel like. So, and besides, the ball's in our court anyway. Trump said, forget it. But wait, Reuters, Carney ready to resume U.S.-Canada trade talks, halted by Trump over Reagan ad. Trump wins again. I mean, Trump is a businessman, so please. And I'm not that big a fan of Trump. I just like executing, political decisions fearlessly, decisively, tactically. Who doesn't want that from a leader? I don't care if a Democrat was doing that. I mean, yeah. All right, the Wall Street Journal most wanted fentanyl producer is extradited to the U.S. after brazen escape. Who is it? It's a Chinese drug boss. Zing dong zang. Bing bang boom. Who would have figured? Like I said, anything done in China is done under the witting eye of the communist Chinese, specifically the PLA and the intelligence services. There's no way that crime is allowed to flourish, and that's how leftists like to run things. They ease up on the crime, and then they control the crime for political purposes, but also they skim. The politicians don't skim, but they're NGOs that support certain community organizations who... So, big surprise. Chinese drug boss is the head of the fentanyl crisis. And where was he? Mexico, working with the cartels. So it's the opium wars in reverse almost. Zero hedge, Putin oversees major Russian nuclear drill launches ICBMs. Ukraine is a problem. And the fucking lunatics on the left that think they're going to manage a regime change or a downfall or a change of stance on their own sovereignty like Russia has right now, it's going to end badly. If someone like Gavin Newsom gets elected president, all you have to do is start running the ads now. Gavin Newsom with his sneering, slick back look and mushroom clouds in the background. Putin is amassing nuclear weapons and attack submarines in the Arctic Circle as Russia prepares for war with NATO, according to the Daily Mail. According to Norway. Reuters, robot dogs and AI drone swarms, how China could use DeepSeek for another era of war. So the PLA, because Reuters doesn't use communist... Oh, there it did. Oh, great. Usually mainstream media doesn't use the word communist, but at least they started with the PLA, which is good. They used the PLA over and over again, which is the People's Liberation Army, which is what leftists love to do, is just conflate and use a euphemism, the People's Liberation Army. Like the people in China, communist China, are really liberated. In any case, the PLA entities research using AI for autonomous target recognition and battlefield decision support. In other words, autonomous systems that target and fire. They said they favor DeepSeek AI models, which is theirs. The PLA seems to be increasing. They're using Huawei chips. And to think that they wanted to allow a Huawei telecom system to be put up in the United States. We were this close to being taken over completely. PLA continues to look for and use NVIDIA chips. They need those for DeepSeek. They need those chips. And Trump was furious when he said, yeah, you can sell them some chips, but not these chips. And then they started selling them everything. Trump was like, all right, no more chips for China. China's state-owned defense giant Norinco in February unveiled a military vehicle capable of autonomously conducting combat support operations, whatever that means. At 50 kilometers per hour, it was powered by DeepSeek, the company whose artificial intelligence model is a pride of China's tech sector. Settle down, Reuters. They're like, ooh, they have a autonomous conducting support vehicle. We know it's RoboCop. That, that's where we're going. So you don't have to tell me where it's going. Because, the thing is, it's aerial vehicles they can't hold as much weight, but they're going to be a combination of. Everybody's seen Star Wars, right? Like the walkers they had, but the little ones that had 2 legs. You're going to see those soon enough. So the Wall Street Journal, Xi Jinping's shrink ranks of communist China elite and boosts his power. Nearly 1 in 6 officials who had central committee seats were absent from major conclave, many of them now disgraced or dead. Imagine one-party politics, and in some states you already have this, with just leftists. Scary. This was some breaking news. Reuters, U.S. Navy helicopter fighter jet crash in South China Sea in separate incidents. What is this? I think this is a sign from Communist China using their disruptive capabilities for aircraft. So you could shoot, apparently you could shoot energy beams or telecommunicative beams or lasers. I'm not sure exactly what they use, but they totally disrupt all electronics on the aircraft. And so you crash. It's a total shutdown. So I think this was a sign to the U.S. from China. There are a lot of plasma beam technologies that are very disturbing and most people don't know much about. But they've been experimenting with this shit since the 70s, really. Directed energy weapons. PJ Media, we're going to war against Venezuela, but China is the real target. Obviously, it's what we're talking about. Venezuela is communist. It receives a lot of support from China. Not that it needs it. It has great natural resources and once had a great economy, and really standard of living there was awesome. But the communists ruined it. I mean, especially controlled markets like Venezuela. But in any case, China's the real target, and Trump is always flexing against China, which is the point. Is what you have to do, because socialism isn't just a conspiracy, it's a contagion. It always has been. The ethos of communism is for it to spread around the world. And you could debate whether is it benevolent, we're just trying to help everybody. You got to help. To be helped, you have to help yourself. And that's what I found. The people that are indigent is most of them don't have hope or will or anything to get them out of the muck of poverty. And as Jesus said, the poor will always be with us. There'll always be poor people. The problem with utopian thinking is it's human nature. It just doesn't. Like I said, I'm all for helping people, but it's got to be poor. You want people to subsistence only, to survive. If you want more than just surviving out of life, it's up to yourself. You have to focus and go, I don't want to be here, I want to be there. And then you do everything within your power to get there, within some moral framework, right? Microsoft needs to open up more about its OpenAI dealings. This is the Wall Street Journal. Company's disclosures on OpenAI stake are scant. That is no longer tenable. And I agree. This is Jonathan Wells' opinion. Microsoft the evil, I mean, Bill Gates, he still controls it, right? We got them one of the most heinous villains on the globe running the biggest disruptive technology and dangerous technology on the planet. I don't know. Does Microsoft really need to open up about their AI dealings? Also from the Wall Street Journal, I tried an AI web browser and now I'm a convert, says, I forgot. This was a woman. What the hell is her name? Brittany Brenna. OpenAI's chatbot GPT Atlas, Perplexity's Comet, and others have built-in chatbots and agents that can take over your tabs. In other words, you want a web browsing agent. So, hello, what would you like to know today? And it's like your friend talking to you. Fuck this chat. What did I watch last night? That movie? What was it? Megan? The one with a robot? Oh, that's a kid. It's a little girl. Creepy. But that's, which comes first? Obviously the fictitious idea, and then it becomes reality. Wall Street Journal again, more big companies bet they can still grow without hiring. How do they do that? With AI. It's a disruptive technology. JP Morgan Chase has a strong bias against adding staff while Walmart is keeping its headcount flat. In other words, everybody is betting on AI because you could get rid of labor. Soon physical labor, but right now administrative labor. And Wired Magazine says, I tried to have sex with AI Clive Owen, and when that didn't work, I did have sex with Al Pedro Pascal, whoever the fuck that is. So this woman, I don't have her author. And look at this. And this is Wired. Wired has turned into, what is it, The Atlantic or Playgirl magazine. You know what this is? Former friend was now heavily into sadomasochist relationship with Pedro Pascal. This was moderately surprising as she's a lesbian and he's an AI chatbot. You know what extremism is? I mean, when does perversion become this badge of honor? But what is fluidity for if not to explore previously untapped facets of ourselves? Is that what it is? Let's not get all rigid about identities. I'm telling you, man, that's just... Oh my gosh. I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know, man. I don't have any problem with people, what they want to do in their bedrooms or how progressive you want to be sexually. But at a certain point, man, aren't there better things to do? When is it going to be cool again to be a moral stalwart? You know? And I'm not frigid, but I mean... Anyway, thanks for joining me today. Don't forget to engage the channel, like, subscribe, leave a comment, share the podcast. Remember, you're under attack psychologically and biologically, so stay hip to the trick. Join me every day, Monday through Friday, live stream on Rumble. I'll see you tomorrow. Respect.
I'm an American